In a Violent Nature is a brand new 2024 slasher film that was released into theaters for a little special engagement early screening release tonight. And then tomorrow it will get a bigger release. I think this is still a limited release, so I don't think this is going to be wide by any means. But I think that originally it was supposed to drop on Shudder. And I think it was tracking well enough that they threw it in theaters and postponed the Shudder release. And as of yet have not announced when that Shudder release will happen. But this is from writer-director Chris Nash. And it is, I mean, as far as like a synopsis goes, this is about as bare bones, thin as a script could possibly get in the story department. I mean, it is just following the perspective of a killer as he stalks through the woods and kills people. I mean, that's really pretty much it. So I would describe this film this way. This plays out mostly like if you were to watch someone else play a video game. Let's say like the Friday the 13th video game that they released, or Dead by Daylight, and you were to watch someone play as the killer. It's a third person perspective, right? So we're not getting a POV like in something like Maniac. We do get a shot from behind them. And for about 80% or more of the film, we follow in third person behind the killer as he stalks through the woods. So, as far as the film goes, the thing I will say is this. This is going to pretty much only be for slasher fans. And not even all of them. Right? So this is going to be for slasher fans, and it's going to split the slasher fans. That's the way I feel this is going to play out. I feel like most other people are going to hate this. And it's really just going to be the diehard slasher fans that want to see something that harkens back, is reminiscent of a bygone era of slasher films, and want some unique kind of fresh spin on things where we say to ourselves, I wonder what Jason's up to between scenes, And that's really what this comes down to. This is that movie where the killer is being shown what they're doing between scenes. I do want to get your perspective before I move on, because I do have a lot more to say on this, but I am curious on what you thought of the film overall.
I loved the movie. I actually really loved it. I thought it was really cool. I think that you're right. I think it probably will divide people that are slasher fans. I heard a lady in front of us when we were leaving the theater say that it was really slow. So I do think that that's going to be probably a common complaint because, like you already said, it's a lot of, like, the scenes in between kills, like we are with the killer. But I loved that. I actually thought it was kind of weirdly relaxing.
I knew you were going to say that.
I did, because there's a lot of, like...
almost like ASMR.
Yeah, there's a lot of him walking through the woods and, like, these just gorgeous, like, nature surroundings and just, like, the sound of his footsteps, like, crunching on the grass and the twigs and stuff. And, in a normal slasher, you get there's a lot of ruckus happening. Like, you're with the kids and they're making noises and they're screaming, and I don't know. I feel like there's a lot usually going on with a lot of slashers, and it was neat to get this perspective, and I really appreciated it because I always am curious about, and I think a lot of slasher fans, like the killer, I always want to know more about them, and it was cool to get this point of view because I feel like it gave us some insights into... although the story, as you said, is pretty, like, basic, bare bones, I still feel like we got, like, some character development, and I just really loved it. I thought it was very unique, and I was really into it. Yeah, I can say more, but I'll let you...
It's definitely unique. There's no doubt about it. I have not seen many films like it. I've definitely seen movies from the killer's perspective, right? We've followed killers before, whether it's Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, Maniac, whether it's the remake or the original, so on and so forth. American Psycho. You can go through the list of movies that primarily focus on the killer. But in those films, those characters are more characters. And with this one, we have a voiceless, stalking Hulk of a Jason Voorhees or a Victor Crowley. And as far as the kills go, I mean, that's something obviously people are going to want to know about. This easily has, hands down, the best kill of 2024.
Oh, for sure.
And
yeah.
Terrifier 3 is going to have its work cut out for it to top the kill in this movie.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen more kills like it. Because there are some good kills besides that, for sure, that I liked. And they can be very violent. And this film is very visceral. Because that is the primary focus of the film. Is the visceral aspect of it. We're in a violent nature. This is just literally following this guy's carnage, his rampage through the woods. I would have liked, so what I personally would have liked a little more from this film, and I'm kind of bummed that we didn't get it. So when we talk about films like Friday the 13th, and we jokingly discuss the in-between, what Jason Voorhees is doing, or what Michael Myers is up to, seeing him stage bodies, seeing him clean up crime scenes, seeing him like, that's something that I feel like is a bit of a missed opportunity here, as to where we could have gotten a little bit more of this side of him where he is setting up traps or setting up, cleaning up bodies, hiding them just as people come around the corner, and he's just missing them as he's hiding the bodies, cleaning up the mess so that people come and they find the body, then they run back to get their friends. He cleans it up really quick. We see all of that, and right as they come around the corner, they're like, I swear to God, there was a body right here, that kind of stuff. If we could have got more of that, that would have made it more entertaining, and that would have made it more of that movie I think we were all looking for. But as far, so, and as I said, the kills, there are some that are just kind of non-existent. We don't really see them, or they're nothing's really done off camera outside of the first kill. We see a kind of a little bit of an aftermath of that. But most things are on screen, which is good. And as I said, if we could have got a couple more kills. Now, granted, the MPAA will only allow you to get away with so much. And you're probably already pushing it with the one kill that we get here that's going to be iconic and legendary and will be one of the great kills of slashers. I think it definitely holds up against any kill. And feels like it comes out of a Hatchet movie. I would say that kill feels very Hatchet-like, and that's where the Victor Crowley. And I think a lot of people will liken this to Friday the 13th, and I definitely can understand that, especially the earlier ones.
Yeah.
But I would say this is more of a grounded, realistic look. Okay, realistic. It's a more serious toned Hatchet from the perspective of Victor Crowley.
It definitely doesn't have, at least to me, I didn't feel like there was any comedy at all in there, which I liked. I loved the tone, actually. I thought that was one of the great things about this movie, and...
Did this have music in it?
It didn't. It was all,
okay. Ambient noise.
Sound, which I mean, there was music that was playing, but it was within the film.
Radios,
So I actually did really like the music that was used in the film, and how it was used. But I love that the killer is voiceless, and one of the things that I think is really cool about that is that it really... with the tone and the way it's shot, I really got the sense of an animal, watching an animal kill things, which I really like, because and it definitely reminded me of Friday the 13th, for multiple reasons, but one of them is definitely this kind of animal, not mindless, because there is an intelligence. It was just really neat how the killer was made to do the kills, and like some of the motivations that you would get behind some of the kills too. Like some of them felt just not pointless, but like they're
extra aggressive.
Yeah, but then other ones were just kind of like you just kind of got in the way of an animal sort of a thing.
Yeah,
I don't know. I really liked that, and I really also I love the look of the killer too, because we get I don't know if that's a spoiler. We get like 2 different looks that we see, and I loved both of them. I thought they were really cool. Yeah. I also liked the cast of like victims as well. I thought that they did a good job, and I feel like they really it did feel like an 80s slasher but modern, but without the humor of an 80s slasher. It was really interesting.
I actually found the performances to be purposely hammy.
They kind of were, but they weren't funny to me.
No, they're not, but I can tell that this is going to be boring for a lot of people. That's what's going to split people the most. They're going to find this boring. They're going to say this is like, it's like a walking simulator, like they said about that video game.
Oh yeah.
Which one was that? Death Stranding.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's gonna have a lot of that, right? You're gonna have a lot of people who are like, "This is just so boring." You're basically just waiting for the next kill to happen, and then once the kill happens, you're just waiting for the next kill to happen, and there's nothing in between, and that the characters are pointless, and that they are super hammy and unbelievable, and that's the point. Right? Like, we are trying to emulate, like, bad 80s slasher movies here, but in a very serious way. There is no attempt at satire. It really is just like a snapshot of a bad 80s movie, but modernized through better technology, like, a better camera, and following from the perspective of the killer. So I found that to be very interesting. And I can tell that the writer of this is a hardcore slasher fanatic. Like, that is very obvious. This is a passion project from someone who loves slashers and wants to see it this way.
Yeah.
If I was to say anything else that kind of piggybacks off what you said of why you love it so much, this actually, it doesn't feel like as much as a movie as it does like a lo-fi YouTube video you put on in the background where a stalker is just like stalking through the woods slowly, and then every once in a while it just happens upon someone and kills them, and you could like put it on to fall asleep. Like, you could just put it on in the background at a party, and it's just like background noise, which, as I said, I think that a lot of people are going to find that, even slasher fans are going to be like, this is way too boring. There's way too much walking. I mean, if it's not the killer, it's characters.
Yeah.
And it's them walking through the woods or running through the woods. Like, probably half the film or more has no dialogue. It has no music. You are just listening to the sound of feet either walking or running through the woods.
Yeah.
And you're either going to vibe with that or you're not. This is a vibe movie all the way through and through. And if you vibe with like slasher films with killers who are just stalking their victims and you just want to see an hour and a half of that, this is your film.
It just had such a great aesthetic, and I feel like it's a really perfect slasher, especially going into like the summer season when everybody does like a lot of their camping and everything. I just think the timing is great for
this is
the
a
release,
wonderful background film. Like, this is something you throw on while you're cleaning the house, or like you're throwing a Halloween party or whatever, and you just throw this on because, as I said, it just has that perfect aesthetic. It's in 4:3 aspect ratio, so you got the square framing like a VHS.
Yeah.
It's just a dude walking through the woods and violently massacring people once in a while.
Yeah.
That's like the perfect background film. And you can take that as a negative or a positive. It's up to you. I enjoyed the film, for sure. I just felt like there was missed opportunities for me personally But I don't think that's what they're going for. They're not going for, like, what I'm referring to. They really are going for what I said. This, like, ASMR, lo-fi, stalking through the woods. It's very, like, rhythmic, right? In its approach. The killer stalks very rhythmically. And you can just sit there and almost, like, get into a trance just listening to his footsteps and being one with nature, like something you put on to go to sleep at night. Sounds of nature with killer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's what this is. And,
Yeah.
man, it's going to bore the fuck out of some people.
I do think that there is a lot of... I mean, yeah, like, there's some interesting moments that, like, I can't really talk about because I think that they're spoilery, but there are some story beats that I think were cleverly, like, thrown in, even though there's, like, you know, maybe not a lot going on screen. Like, I liked the subtlety of it.
Well, why don't we cut it off here and talk spoilers in the other video?
Sure.
All right. Well, join us over there if you've seen it, and we'll see you there.
Bye.
Bye.